Okay, and we're live. Well, evening, you cranky pirates. This is TFC Open Mic Season 2, Episode 45. It's the mid-rate review, again, being November. It's the second of the Skirmisher raids, and we're going to talk about that mostly tonight, and we're actually going to have a little bit of chat about the FM update, which obviously came out only, well, the FM target update, which came out just as we went into this this raid weekend. So first but foremost, then, let's have a look at the panel, see what we got on. We've got Brian, the admin. How you doing, Brian?
Doing pretty good. Running through a hunter target. Pretty easy.
And if your eyes do not deceive you, someone's got YouTube on, so I'll let you mute that yourselves. Okay. Hey, Dave, no introduction.
Thanks. Oh, by the way, Man of War's just spawned.
Oh, they've just come out. Okay, then, yeah, look, that's in the chat as well. And hi, guys, in the chat, by the way. So, yeah, okay. So, Dave's in as well. Imri, good to see you, mate.
Hello, everyone.
Good, good. Hefe, how you, bud?
Oh, pretty good. Stocking up on uranium at the moment.
Yeah, I bet everyone's out charging around now.
Yeah, because I was down to 43 uranium and just sort of sitting around. But
wow,
pleasant news.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I must admit they're quite late, but you know, I'm sure people will be playing catch up now because we were all banking on midday time, 8 p.m. UK time, but it didn't quite happen. Anyway, Peter, how are you, mate?
I'm doing okay. I haven't been going too hard on the raid, just noodling about and seeing what I can do.
Excellent. Okay, we'll talk about specifics about targets in a second. Anyway, Heffel, how are you, mate?
Oh, pretty good, thank you. Just doing a MOW here while I'm Man of War while you're talking.
Yeah, no, good. We'll do some screen sharing in a minute if you want to. If people are hitting stuff, and it's good to have a bit of background activity going at the same sort of time. Trent, how you doing, buddy?
What's going on, brother?
Oh man, that mic's clear. We like it.
No,
$60 worth it then, yeah.
Hell yeah! No, this rate's nice. I like it.
Yeah, it's doing all right. Look at that then for tripod. I like it. Good, anybody?
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. Yeah. And Venom's coming at the back end just to close off the 10. How you doing, mate?
Hey, very good.
Excellent. Right. Okay. So. What can I say? So we went into the raid with a bit of doom and gloom. Obviously, the abstention of people not really wanting to take part in the FM or really sort of like kicking back about the changes and the fact that it was there was no previews to the change and that sort of stuff. And it basically hit us like a sledgehammer, I think, last week. There were no formal previews. It just literally happened. There was no overlap. It just literally instant stop and instant start, new format and a new target, and didn't please a lot of people, to say the least. However, we have had some slight adjustments come out over the week. They did reduce the cost initially and that sort of stuff, but that didn't really resolve the issue, I don't think, to be honest. And they have now finally, Brian, I don't know if you've got that there. That's available, but there has been a release. If you're not aware, just share when you're ready, mate, and I'll ping on yours.
Okay.
But there has been a release.
Wow, gadget's back.
yeah. It's bad. Yeah, it's okay.
All right.
There is a gadget in the house.
And up on the post.
Super duper. I'm not sharing yet, mate. If you got a chance to.
Click
I'm on screen share. Oh, I have to actually.
Left hand side, please, and turn on the button.
And okay, that should do.
Yeah, we're good. Right, so I'm locked on. I don't know if you can see that, but basically, if you can't, it's a bit too small. But if you haven't seen it, that was the post that came up basically, and that was obviously from our Rampage. Our CM Chris himself, and basically it said that I know it's small there, but it was a reasonable statement in some areas and not in other areas. So their acknowledgement basically was the fact that they were going to redesign the ships in the 115. In fact, they're going to completely remove the assault type ships out of the 115, and they're going to go back and then change those with some garrison ships. But the things, the garrison ships are going to be UAV ships, okay? But they will be parked. Okay, well that's the promise anyway. We have been, we can say that some of us, because it is in that statement, will be getting to see these at the start of the week, and we will then sort of like work along with Kickside to make sure that they are as expected. And there is
Tuesday and Wednesday
damage. And if the damage is too much, then we'll make it absolutely clear, because I think this is almost their last chance to get this right for many, many people, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, the removal of the ships and making them into new ones. I mean, UAVs are typically penetrative, which is technically a damage type that's allowed, and explosive, which I really hope that they give these Drak carriers the D100Ss that would fly to something and then just deal no damage because they dropped their payload early, just in the middle of flying. I hope they don't chain. Or if they do chain, I hope their chaining range is very short. So like maybe they could jump between a fleet of IBs stacked, but if you have a tank and backline, your backline should not be being punished. You might have to refit countermeasures. You probably won't, but you might. Sprints will hit these. Gales will hit these. So again, you shouldn't have to, but if you have, you shouldn't have to change the countermeasures around again just to hit like second rebalancing of the target.
Terry,
the countermeasures will kill it. Include
Terry, you got the problem.
Okay, yeah, because we've already had to swap around our stuff once because they designed the 115 initially so poorly that you couldn't do them well unless you either already had the sprint or broke their own whole class rules. You know, playing assault SIPs shouldn't be the correct answer. Putting in ballistic Zelos shouldn't be the answer. I don't care who you are. If they are wanting us to put in, if they're wanting to design specific targets and specific ships based around those targets, those ships should work in those targets. They've set their limits and they set the rules and then they broke them. And now they're hoping to go back to something that's closer to what they have. So let's see what happens.
But are these park ships going to be hitting the Drak targets too? Because Zoe's supposed to be attacking the Draks too. I posted about that on the page. It seems like they changed their little storyline that they've been using.
These ships are Drak. These new ships are Drak.
They should be Drak carriers. That's what they should be. So just think to what we used to have this time, almost last year. In fact, the Drak carriers came out, didn't they? Because we were hitting the old FM targets them as well. Brian, you can come off share now, mate. Thanks.
Okay.
Mike, I mean, look, I understand when we went obviously from the 85s and we went up and that sort of stuff, you know, and there were some ships in there, but they were static. And then all of a sudden it was interesting to see when the 113 turned up, and all of a sudden it was like, yeah, great. So we got some, you know, we got some mort chucking ships, but in front of them is an assault ship, which I always thought was a bit odd. And then the cranking them up was obviously far too easy because it was the Zoe, and that one is, you know, we always thought it was quite an evil one when we had it as well in the early days anyway. So I'm glad, I'm hoping they are gone. The statement there is that it's now a static guard ship and that sort of stuff of the Draconian format. So it can only be missile and explosive.
I think it's going to very much depend on where they position them, right? I think that's going to make or break it. Do you know what I mean? Because if they position them in certain places, it's going to be really horrible. But if they position them in other places, it could actually turn out to be pretty easy. Do you know what I mean? It just all depends where they put them.
I mean, it doesn't need to be ridiculously easy, does it? But, you know.
The problem is George, you know, has said that, you know, the problem's going to be if the UAVs are firing at you at the same time as you come in range of the cold snap, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
Because all your stuff that targets the cold snap also targets the UAVs, right? So
it's going to be the same with mortars too.
Well, no. Well, yeah, because the
Gales are going
to target the UAVs as well.
Yeah, I think that's a. I mean,
but then the other problem is if a flanks fires at a UAV, is it gonna lock it off then at that point because it's been fired at by a flanks?
Yes, that will. I think the sprint does it, but I'm not 100% sure. But the phalanx, if it fires, it'll stop it until you get to the Zealous duality countermeasure. And the thing is, nothing fires only at UAVs. Your Gales will fire at morts and UAVs. The sprint will fire at missiles and UAVs. So it's a little tricky in that regard.
In some respects, it's quite decent because the Zealous duality doesn't fire at UAVs. So that's almost like your last line of defense, isn't it?
It's only take 2 tanks. That's it. Finished. Done. 2 tanks. That's it.
Nice simple solution there for everyone who's got 1 tank who now has to go out and build an entire new tank.
Listen, mate. You just came back, so I got 2 sealer tanks. No worries.
Well, I haven't.
Yeah, there you go. And he's been playing longer than you have.
Yeah, but he still got the tokens too to do it. I know.
Well, it's because TSM recycled his gridiron, right?
Yeah, but and mentioned earlier, if they chained far back and hit your, like if you have monos back behind, if I don't know how far these UAVs are going to chain, but you might have to park a tank back with the monos just to.
If the chaining range is anything over 70, that's a problem, because the max range you can have is, you'd need to be like, what, 98 minus 180. So, that much out of the way.
There's a conundrum, okay? Because if you think about it, I mean, they built this special mono fleet with obviously the the aura for the flagship for the monos. That's only as a drag and drop, isn't it? It's straight behind, and the field only sits 70 to 100 behind at the most. That must be the maximum range of it. So if the chaining's about 70, then your mortar ships behind are definitely going to get hit if you want to stay inside the aura range. If, like everybody else in the normal game, as opposed to what Kixie decided to build it like, and you go off at a tangent that's sort of like the 90 degrees, then obviously you can be at quite a range, so you'll do okay, But
and with the ships too,
they are plugging those monos in the flag as well, which is a proper straight draw, one behind the other.
With the ships too, it's not necessarily the damage type; it was the damage amount, because it was said in their own post by GD Raken when whole classes were introduced what a garrison target was.
Mm-hmm.
It was not supposed to have very much ship damage. And the thing is, our ships are designed to those specs. You'll notice the Monolith has a lot less ship deflection than it does Siege. The only thing that has anything similar would be the tanks. Icebreakers too, but that's because you have to get in close to them. You're always in their range because your range is so short. Like, they designed these ships to those rules, so they can't necessarily break them. The good news is, because UAVs ignore evade, UAVs should, if you design them well, would have less damage because it ignores evade. So the power you get in ignoring evade and ignoring a mischance is felt in the overall damage of the weapon. So hopefully it's going to be weaker UAVs.
Yeah, I'm hoping so, because my concern is they've really, really pushed, and the last big spend what they were trying to sell everybody was icebreakers without the flag initially, and then with the flagship as well. And if those UAVs, they don't even need to chain, because icebreakers is a stack blitzer. So let's see how that goes.
Yeah, the UAVs,
I just want to say,
UAVs have splash their gunfire. So if they have splash, you're probably moving so fast that they would miss you.
Hopefully,
unless they have a really big splash.
We'll find out.
I just want to say, don't use any tokens or coins or refitting your bloody ships.
No, let me do that for free on Monday.
Before you know that about the FM and everything. Stop using anything, please, people.
I mean, I would like the Kickstarter to come out with something before the FM starts up again, because then we can state whether what the UAVs do and what the best ships are and that stuff. What I don't want to do is to go into a pre-vote on Monday, which I believe it is. I'm pretty sure it's Monday, and then all of a sudden have to keep quiet until the FM comes out, because that's not the right thing. What's the freaking point of this? We need to be able to at least say to people, you'll be fine with your icebreakers. Yeah, the mono fleet is working, and yeah, do you know what? The Zealous tank is now fit for purpose. There's no point leaving it and just leaving people in a conundrum. That is not a good idea.
Because listen, I was just refitting my sealers just for this FM, and I worked it out. No problem. It's easy peasy,
If your dock's empty and you've got nothing to do there, it's easy. Most things are.
Yeah. But the thing, I did it one go, and still low repair. But the thing is the time consuming. You spending so much time. That's the only worry I had about the FM. Is the time to do the bloody FM.
Well, I'm hoping that the points drop is going to help on that as well. So changing the ship slightly So the format, it conforms. That's it. It's the confirmation of the format, so it conforms back to what it should be by type, and then making sure that we haven't got to fit, 14 to 18 targets, depending. I mean, that's the top level target. If you go down to the smaller targets, it's even more. It's crazier.
Yeah.
Well, they mentioned they changed the point values, and if they reduce the stuff by 20%, let's say you wanted to get a CTX3 and the tier 5 chest. Before this change, that would have been 11 115s. Now it's 8 115s. So for context, runs of the FM, you'd get everything 1 to 5 twice, and usually there's tokens in there, for 7 of the high level targets. Now, even with this change, it's still 8 for a prize and the tokens in tier 5. If you want another prize, or if you want a lower prize in tier 4, or the chest in tier 4, you got to hit more.
But how long is it going to take? That's the question.
Don't know.
No idea.
Well, that's why I'm saying let's see the bloody targets, and some guys are going to check it out on Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, I'd really like them to be able to let us show, or themselves, if we're in there with them, that sort of stuff, and they get to stream some stuff afterwards, that'll do. That's fine. It doesn't matter who does it, but just don't leave the guys hanging till Wednesday. That's not right. Or Thursday.
Thursday, yeah. I reckon.
Can they drive their target with their own garbage builds?
Well, let's not go down the offered builds. That's not a good idea.
Do you want to see
don't use the kickside builds. Use the builds in the video. Well, maybe not the one in the video below if they make the ballistic resist really high.
Yeah. Let's see. That's what I'm saying all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, fine. So there we go. That's FM. It's all, to be disclosed and that sort of stuff. I really hope, and we will speak to them, even in, the event and that sort of stuff, that this stuff definitely needs to get out and get out early and that sort of stuff. So if we can get it out early too, then or if Kickstarter do it themselves on their own page, as long as it gets out before the release of the FM, so it gives people at least ideally 48 hours before it goes live, that'd be great. And even if it isn't changed and people can still use the same fleets, then I like to be able to at least say that on Tuesday night show. That'd be quite handy. So I'll be pushing for that myself, as I'm sure George will, because he's bound to be there as well, and Robin for our guys as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if Price isn't there as well for the BV guys. Anyway, should we get back to the raid?
After last week, they should let you all do videos and post them 2 days before the FM comes out.
It would be nice if they settle on a target and go, yeah, right, we're content now, because they can do live updates because the server is quite small and they can refresh it quite quickly. So hopefully they can give that permission, that sort of stuff, So we'll see how it goes. I don't know, because it's a weekend and you don't get to talk to them really at the weekends because they only have one duty bod really on. So we'll see how it goes. Right, I'll flash back through the chat. So do you want to talk raid, guys? Anybody doing the A sets? Anybody doing the lower stuff? Anybody assisting anybody in the lower stuff? We can all do the top ones. I know we can, because we can even do the sub one. I mean, well, I'll just say, I think this raid personally from me, from my sector in 217 where I am at the moment, there's 101 on the leaders board. The 101 player has got 27 million as I looked about an hour and a half ago, so he's not doing too bad. So participation is reasonable, and at this stage then he's on target then to get, if he really wants it, obviously the new sub and the bits to go with it sort of stuff. Yes, the flagship for the our rating subs is stuck in the I think in the wrong place. I think it shouldn't be in the locked area. I think it should be down the bottom, but especially in the second time round. But then again, I suppose something's got to be in there. I like the fact that there's quite a few tokens. It's not bad, and there's some hunter tokens, which I think was a really good idea. Not so impressed that there's not too much X armor available charged. There's only 5. There should be more.
Do we know overall, if they're still going to run that TLC for the charged armors?
I hope so. Yeah, I'm hoping that will come around as well, Dave, because everybody, I mean, like yourself coming back into it as well, you could do a plethora, I'm sure.
I think they said that they were going to be bringing it back in one of the updates.
I think the week after the raid it was.
Yeah, and we're assuming all these updates are cumulative, like the stuff they kept on saying we're going to do. Because there's been 3 updates on the FM, and I think the second one is when they mentioned including defensive arts for the charged armors. And if we make the assumption that everything that happened in each one of these updates is going to occur, yeah, then we should see defensive arts. And I forgot, we got a bunch of charged armors in that one, as I recall. And it was fairly easy.
Yeah, I think it was like, what was it, 3x4CO and 5M? Something like that, anyway.
I just wish they put some more Gales 2 in the bloody target, the raid. I missed the Gales 2.
Yeah, I'm going to push for that for the next one because obviously that's the tech raid. So I'm definitely going to push for Gales 1s and 2s. You know, they don't cost a great deal, but I prefer power. Oh, sorry, efficiency versus weight is the Gale 2 is the one to go for. I think.
Yeah, I need those.
You can definitely get away with a bit more, you know. Yeah. The weight is if it's, I mean, in defense it doesn't matter so much, but definitely when you start doing it on a, PvE ships particularly, when you haven't got that much now, haven't got that much weight to play with, they're definitely much better.
Mix and match.
Yeah, and like, George is in chat there. He's saying agility 4 as well. I mean, when was the last time that was out? It's been some time now. A lot of people have used up all their agilities and that sort of stuff. So
it was a timed one not too long ago. It was timed and really expensive, as I recall.
I recycled all my fleet 7 months ago, so I've got loads of them.
Oh, so you must have heaps then, mustn't you?
There's a lot of specials, including base specials, that haven't been for a very, very long time, that are really needed months ago, but they still haven't got around to bring them out, and it's getting rather frustrating at this point.
Yeah, it is actually. I have to say there are certain ones there. I mean, I know people like the new, the replacement for Trident, but people still actually want the Trident as well because it's, it's just some people collect blueprints, don't they? They just want them. So.
Didn't they say they're gonna put it in a low tier of FM? Oh well, I thought they were saying that or writing that. I'm not sure. But pretty much, maybe.
We can but hope.
Okay, so is anybody in a sector where people are actually prepping for people, just out of interest?
Yeah,
I did a little prepping for people. It's sort of it's definitely a pain in the butt as far as the tier 6 is. Personally, it takes me as long and as much damage as hitting the new Fangtooth target.
Oh, I do it instant.
Well, I do both of them instant, but
it takes a while.
Yeah.
Per target.
Yes.
Oh damn! That's one thing I was curious about. How come it takes a longer time for the low levels to do the targets? But that's a subject. I'm gonna stop talking.
I'm assuming because they originally put them out. Well, because they originally put them out as for the high level players, and they never changed them. So as the progression went, now that we have all the S sets to hit, the A sets never changed. So that's why they take so long.
One thing, it was always fun to do the 3 targets to start with, and the high targets like S targets or whatever. Now we got 2 S targets, 2 if you got both fleets. But people who only got 1 fleet doing the same bloody target all over again.
Yeah,
I had bloody hated. But I was just hoping that did something like similar to the TLC target stuff. Just do different types of targets, the whole raid, and then we're done. That's it. Finished.
See, the elite target was always, it originally came around, was supposed to be for the high-end end game players who had the top tech so that they could do their raid quickly, but it was going to cost them, right? And then the A sets were like the top level, but they were possible to do, to grind out and do for free if you had the right stuff, right? And it's all sort of seems to have changed now. It's like you've got like multiple S set targets that you have to do, and it's loads of seat time. That was never how it was meant to be. It was meant to be a little bit of coin, but done quickly.
But that was the concept, mate. It was the pay early, get away with it sort of stuff. So you built your fleets early, and you did that prior to the raid, so you could go into the raid and just go, right, thanks very much, I'm back to PvP. You know.
Yeah, but now it seems like it's pay early and then pay later too.
Well, you can always you always been able to grind the blood shit, you know. You've always been able to grind it. I know that because I haven't spent a lot of coins on this game. I did to start with. I stopped, and I could grind everything, but it took a lot of seat time, free. But I worked up the line, you know.
Oh, it can take a while. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you do. You start at the bottom and you work up, and I get that sort of stuff. But I wouldn't like to be the person that had to start at the bottom in the game at the moment.
No. Never.
I don't know how you would. I must admit, I don't know the transition from going from. I mean, there are some stuff out there that you can get hold of, you know. But even, I mean, I haven't got the picture with me now. But even today, I saw a post come up when it was, I think it was $178 for 4 submarines.
Mate,
that's ridiculous.
If you come back to the game right now and you haven't got Phoenixes or Skyfires, like me, you're screwed.
Yeah, I bet.
Even if you coin, you're screwed because you can't get titanium. Do you understand? Right? Yeah. There's no viable blueprint in my dock to get titanium. I mean, yeah, I could probably build an Apollo fleet to I think there's one target that you can do, but it's a really low payout and it's a grind. And why would I build an entire Apollo fleet just for that? Do you know what I mean? It just seems stupid because you know it's basically an obsolete fleet at this point.
But if you got the Phoenix, you could do the same thing.
Yeah, but I don't have a Phoenix. I don't have a Phoenix. I don't have a Skyfire. So anyone who missed those ships and tried to get back into the game right now, a big portion of their game they can't play. Right, because I'm unable to get titanium. So there's builds I can't do. I can't do anything in the Conqueror yard. I can't build my my draconian seawalls. I can't upgrade them. Do you know
because of the targets built around specified builds of ships.
Yeah, and it's the whole thing.
And it's high-end ships. So new beginners can't do.
No, they can't do nothing. They can't do nothing. Even if they wanted to spend money, they can't do nothing because until that assault ship comes back up, they can't buy it.
Not true.
Do you know what I mean?
I missed them 91s.
Oh, mate, yeah.
I think that this issue could be solved. Like, assault was done, in September. So after the last raid of the cycle, I think that the quote-unquote auto hull, in this case the Skyfire, that should at the very least go into the foundry so that you can at least get it, and it should be a quick research too.
Totally agree.
Because if they're putting out everything that is specifically tuned to these blueprints just after the raid ends, they're hosing everybody else, and they're so highly tuned to the point where like you get stunned as Apollos and you're dead, and everything that has stun. No matter what agility you put on,
something you have to have, it should be easily accessible, like you say, through the foundry, right? If it's something that you've got to have.
And another thing that they said they would do but never did, when a tier is released and made available, like this is tier 6 Skirmish. So why is tier 5 Skirmish anywhere near the same amount of build time as it once was? Like the newer weapons have a shorter build time, but the Tideseeker hulls are still really long. The specials on it are still really long. The armors are still really long. Like a Tideseeker should cost you 2 days fully kitted max with back then tech, like D5 CTs on it. Maybe not necessarily charged, but to put on, their Garwood Gatling or even the Mayhem Torpedo, all 12 slots, Tideseeker, good specials, good armor, 1 ship, 2 days max. The flagship should be reduced in build time by a week. Like that's the other problem. You can't even build those ships because they're almost as expensive, if not more expensive in terms of time, parts. And they said they were going to change that, and they never did. And
right.
that was back when there were 4-month raid cycles. Now there's only 3, which is another reason to lower it, and they don't. The most
don't they sell that fleet for $15?
It's crap.
Don't they sell that fleet for $15?
The
entire fleet, fully kitted out.
Probably. I haven't seen it because I have Tideseekers, but I think they do that.
I think they do, yeah.
Right. So if they're selling it for $15, then it shouldn't take you any more time than $15 would buy for you to build that whole fleet.
Make it 30, which in this case, is 6 days. So then they're getting half off on buying the fleet now as opposed to building it.
Yeah. But that's the, it should definitely come down in price because it's an old fleet, right? So if they're selling, if they value it at $15 fully built, then you should be getting a discount on it if you have to build it in your shipyard as well.
Here.
Okay. Just say hi. I think Mike's just popped in, haven't you?
Yeah.
Hey, Mike. Good to see you, mate. Yeah, unfortunately, I have to pop out because his microphone is either his jack plug or his cable's a bit dodgy. So he popped out to let somebody else jump in. And good to see you, Mike. Trini, I've just posted up on the. I'll just present to everybody so we can lock it. You've been doing the sub one, haven't you?
Yeah.
Have you experienced the things with the subs backing up on the sides there, and they can shoot you, but you can't shoot them?
Yeah. When they're near the walls.
Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah. Well, there's 2 instances, isn't there? There's the if you kill the last thermal one too quickly, that everything goes to the center, which they're on about getting rid of in the next target. So bear that in mind when they come to do the text or raid next one. They're going to get rid of that center island in the. So I don't know what they're going to do instead, but just consider that. So if you're killing off all the thermal ships first, and the other ones are too far away, those slippery eel things, then
I'm in the Fangtooth one right now as we speak, actually.
Yeah, it's frustrating. But that one where they go to the wall and you're sort of chasing them in, all of a sudden you stop, your torpedoes stop, and if you aren't careful, they'll come edging towards you, and yet they can still fire at you, which is freaking frustrating.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw some weird, long-winded explanation of that by one of the GDs talking about, how they had to make the land smaller or this, and they were going to be removing more land from the targets to fix the issue and all that. But I didn't really understand what the hell he was talking about, to be honest with you.
From what I understood, it was the case that the physical barrier, not the pictorial piece, but the physical barrier, so the coding to say that you can't get through this wall when it pops up and you can't drive through this island, a little bit like the drones have happened in some of the garrison, some of the assault targets. If they bring the detail down to a certain level, whilst it will mean you'll be able to shoot them, but it'll also mean that they'll be able to drive through the walls, which we don't want that to happen either. We don't want them driving through walls and coming at us, because that's what was happening with the drones as well. And clearly they wouldn't want us to be able to drive through the walls.
Well, we've had lots of raids with walls in. Why is it suddenly an issue now, whereas it hasn't been in any of the other raids we've had?
It just seems to be these pop-up ones, or these sort of like scourge type ones, doesn't it?
Well, why don't they just fucking drop the pop-up walls and put them in there permanently?
Well, there is some strategy to them, because some of them pop up on a timer, and if you do things quickly, you can navigate through and get a priority target prior to it. And the other thing that's a real pain is the clouds are pop up as well.
That's awful. But we know where we are. After you've done a few, it's okay, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't have that in the hunter target.
After you take 2 hours of damage after it pops up underneath you, then you
the hunter target doesn't have any of that stupidness in it, though. So
thank God. No, yeah, I think the thing is the wall has to be quote unquote thick enough, and if they make the wall too thin, you can drive through it. The problem that I am having conceptually with it is like if we can't fire torpedoes at them, that means that they're behind a wall of some sort. You cannot fire torpedoes if there is a wall blocking your path. So they're behind a wall, but they can fire torpedoes at us. So from their side, they're not behind a wall. Like that's where I run into a problem, like thinking about it. Like that should never be a case. If it's a wall, fine, it's a wall. But if it's a wall for one side and not the other, that's garbage.
And the problem I have, why is it coded so much differently than land? If they had the land popped up and changed the graphic and made it look like a wall, wouldn't we be fixing this problem? Because we don't have this problem if ships get close to land. We only have this problem when they get caught in the walls.
The problem is with the new iron gates, like they're so laggy when they pop up and everything. You know this, guys.
The thing is those gates areas, we're not actually, although it's visually, you can see that I've locked onto Venom's thing there. So that visually, they're very broad, aren't they? You know, and you know, there's an area like all the targets that have walls or anything at all. There's still a zone, even though you want to drive close to it, you can't, because there's like there's a notional zone that you can't. You have to sort of like scout around it, probably about half a blinking tile wide sort of stuff, you know. So where do those actual? I know the girder shows that it's, you know, a single girder with things going off at 90 degrees and spikes sticking up. But actually, how wide is the actual wall? Is it a full tile width and that sort of stuff, you know, or is it just the fact that it's just a single thread? I don't know how they've you know computed it, that sort of stuff, because you can't actually get very close.
It's bad because these walls has always caused problems.
Yeah, but the center of that submarine, you can see in that picture then, technically that submarine is now inside the wall.
Oh, it is, definitely.
Which means you couldn't target it.
No. It feels like your ship can go into
you can target it, no problem. You have to go right on the edge of the fire field, but you get burned, you know, nearly.
Yeah,
but you have to go, I sent tickets to Kickstarter, and there's Josh giving the reply from GGA.
Yeah, the routine reply.
Yeah, that's sorry. Fuck, flipping BS.
Yeah, that's the Danish when you come out, mate. Yeah, so but fortunately that picture, and I'll drop it back down again. That island is the island they're talking about getting rid of, by the way. So that's what should disappear. So we'll see how it goes. You know, it'll either be there or it won't be there, sort of stuff. But they're talking about, you know, if they turn them down any further, as in the thickness of these walls, then they will cause an even bigger upset in the target. But that's 7-year-old mechanics.
Well, on an upside, to be positive, they did really well with the hunter target.
I think the hunter target's fine. Yeah,
I think the hunter target's awesome. Right? They don't need to change that one little bit. It's perfect, just like it is.
I think it's just the right amount of damage. It doesn't need to be escalated. I must admit, I think it just does exactly as you expect it to. You know, you can drive really smartly. I mean, I've driven a couple of those and I can do them for 0 damage. But if I make a mistake, I get a little bit of damage. So,
or you can auto them, and spend 2 coin a pop on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which is fair price, really. I mean, 2 million. It used to be back in the day. We were happy with 1 million points for a coin. Right, so 5 million for 2 coins. I'm happy with that. That's a great price.
Yeah, you've been out of the game for a little while because we've had this conversation a billion times. And what happened? But back then, you needed like 15 million points for the raid, right?
Yeah.
Well, the pricing is a little bit better this time, isn't it? This one here, I don't know whether it's because it's.
Well, no, I've got to say though, mate, 7 million for 1 CT armor is a little bit over the top.
Better than 10.
Yeah, but still.
Definitely better than 10.
I
had to spend 70 million points just on CT armor.
Welcome back.
People have been spending loads more than that, Dave.
Mate, people see that I've got 539 million points and they think that I'm being stupid, right? And I keep trying to explain, with all the prizes that I didn't have, plus all the tokens,
you have to do it.
Plus all the fucking shards, that's how many. I'm going to have about 15 million points left over after I bought everything.
What kind of shards? The Fangtooth shards?
All the shards.
He wants everything.
Well, are you a fucking wanker, man?
Hey.
Bloody other shards.
Hey, that's Mr. Wanker to you, mate.
No worries.
How much of this show we'll have to cut out? I don't know. We'll work on it anyway. Right.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway,
just blame the name.
It's not too bad. What else are we going to talk about? Let's have a look then. So, right, we had a little message. I don't know why people seem to forget, but the hit down multiplier is base level 80, and if you're hitting the 60 targets, you're not going to get the full amount. So I've seen 3 posts on that in the last 48 hours. People complaining and saying, well, there's two conspiracy theories. One, Kixie were robbing me. I didn't get my full points. It's always been like that in this raid format. The hit down multiplier has always been there. Yeah. And the other thing is, somebody did say today, I don't know why, that since yesterday they decided to put a 20 to 40 second delay in the start of the target. So when you went into it, you were already damaged in the hunter target.
Oh, I didn't get that.
No, nor did I. And it was a conspiracy tin hat thing, and I said to him that's definitely not happened. And he was like, "Oh yeah, it has, and that sort of stuff." And he just wasn't those things. So.
And I ran that target by 30 sometimes.
They really should look at the level locking on the targets, right? Because when they brought that in, we didn't have to have specific fleets for specific targets, right? That was back in the day when you could hit anything with anything. And now they've basically made it so you need the top fleets to hit certain targets, but they've level locked the lower targets. It should go on the fleet you're using.
Yeah, tier targets. Now that everything's got a tier attached to it, as in it's a tier 6 hull and it's a tier 5 weapon. It should be tier locked. Nothing. I don't care if you're level 115 or level 127. If you're using a tier 4 ship, you can go in and use a tier 4 target and then
Exactly.
The thing is, if you only I think it was Brian who said that if you put one 6.5 tier fleet in a low tier fleet target, you can do it without penalty or the other way, or the average of the whole fleet. I'm not sure what's the best. You know what I mean?
No, I think any tier that's too high should disqualify you from the bonus.
I think 0.5. Yeah, if it's 0.5 above,
half a level up.
If it's 0.5 above, then that's
what. Why not an average?
Yeah, because you could have a tier 1 gunboat and then 2 tier 6 ships, mate, and that would bring it right down.
Yeah, well, just for fun. That's the benefit of
no, because there are plenty of low-level players who struggle their arse off and can't hit nothing else. So I don't agree with that personally.
Okay.
I don't.
So if you put 1 6 tier fleet in it and small tier fleets in it, you're not allowed to.
That's my assumption. I would. Well, that's what I'd like to see. However, if you've got a tier 4 target and you've got tier 4.5 weapons on there and that sort of stuff, that's fine. As soon as you go up to tier 5 weapons, then no, you can't do it. But then they can structure their stuff properly. It doesn't matter who you are, what you are, and that sort of stuff.
It's going to be complex if you're going to put in the weapons too, don't it? Just the fleet is not enough.
The weapons have their own tier.
Yeah, I know, but the fleet too.
Well,
they could just make it that if you put tier 5 weapons on a tier 4 fleet, it made the fleet tier 5. Real simple.
Yeah, it's going to up it up. Yeah.
It's only a maths equation, isn't it, surely?
Yeah.
They just check against all tech, not just the level.
Except for the player base trying to understand that when it's communicated by Kixeye, is never going to happen well.
No.
We also say it's only a maths equation, but we know how well Kixeye do maths.
Oh, don't say that. No.
I don't know about programming, because they probably do a lot better than me. I'm an end user, I'm not a programmer, so I don't even pretend to know how it works and that sort of stuff. I just know when it doesn't. I can read, that's one thing I can do, and then I can interpret. And if it doesn't interpret the right way, they need to go back and rewrite it. That's what I can say.
They can there's probably something they could do to check versus tech level. I don't think it would be easy to do necessarily, but they could do it.
But is it necessary? Because back in the day, it was all of these. They seem to have a problem getting a lot of targets to spawn, and right now we have all these people that have quit and come back, and we have people that stupidly artificially increase their base level, and the point differential is so huge. What is the real point at this time? And putting these hit down penalties, for people that have left for a year and they don't, they're using tide seekers and whatnot, and they're going to get a penalty if they go down to the 60s. They can't hit the 7, so they're left with only hitting the A sets.
Yep. That's what I had to do when I came back the first raid. I got that cheap ass tide seeker offer, and I bought it, and then I had a little bit of help from a mate to get enough points to grab the houndstooth, and then I threw that on the tide seekers, and I was able to do A sets with them on my own. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that does actually transform the tide seekers. I must admit, I had enough tokens to refit mine. Then I went and tested them, did some I did some targets in the midweek stuff, and it transformed the fleet. I must admit.
Yeah, it's a totally different fleet with that weapon on it, and the PBX as well.
Yes, that actually made a huge difference, I must admit. Yeah. It was good. But look, I mean, apart from somebody complaining today that there was a massive lag in getting into them, which was enforced, which clearly isn't. I think the things have gone pretty smooth. I think most subs. I mean, I think this submarine set compared to the last one, the stacking ability of this subs is much better.
I still have the lag every time the bloody walls comes up. You know.
Are you?
Yeah. After 3 or 4 hits, I have to reset and everything and do the whole thing.
And that's just the game. The memory leaking is bad. The walls have always been bad, even back with the January.
That's what I'm saying. That they have to stop using these walls, pop-up walls, and whatever. Don't use all these mechanics that makes movements and everything.
But that's a feature.
That's causing the lag. You know?
That's a feature. They should be charging you for that. That's a special feature.
Yeah, that's a program. EP, but it's failing.
You need a gaming PC to play a Flash game.
Well, it needs a powerful CPU.
And a hell of a lot of RAM.
Can I just stop you there? I have a powerful PC and it still does it. It's nothing.
It's nothing. I got
it's a combination thing, isn't it? We know that. You know, it's spec connectivity and sort of stuff. It's what else you got going in the background.
You know what? Find a dead sector to do the raid, man, because my sector's pretty dead. There's only 6 people doing the raid in my sector, and I haven't had one bit of lag the whole game. I played for 3 hours earlier without refreshing. Didn't have a problem.
You're a lucky guy then.
Well, as soon as you like, I must admit, I went to the Palooza last time and that sort of stuff, and because the number of bases that were there, I did notice a difference in performance. But that's because of the amount of graphics the game's got to bring up, you know. Which is crazy.
And now your targets are in towers. You don't have to worry about
no problem.
Populated sector. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not having any issues whatsoever personally. But that's just me, you know.
A lot of people having the issue with the lag. If you like a small thing, if you stay in your base and you see all the targets moving around in your base, you can hear the noise going on your computer or whatever. The fan is going on. Yeah. But if you go outside the base on the water side, no problem. You see the difference immediately, you know. So
I know. I mean, I know a lot of people when they're in the game actually raiding and that sort of stuff. They'll have the you know, a piece of software on the side where they can keep purging their RAM and that sort of stuff before they go into each target. So
moving parts on the Flash game gonna do lag. That's it.
But lag reduction strats 101 is you want to have as few effects on the screen as possible.
Turn them all off.
Turn them all off except clouds, because if I turn off clouds, I can't see the green mist because I guess the game calls that a cloud.
Oh, really?
Even though I could see it fine. I could see it fine in the assault raids when I had everything off, but when doing the VXP targets and stuff, I couldn't see it. And then I turned clouds on and I could see it.
That's random.
I could see the orange flags, but I couldn't see the green mist.
Well, you got a bad.
So I guess they call it a cloud.
I got everything turned off, the sound, all the effects,
me too. I got the same. Everything's turned off.
Does anyone even use the sound anymore?
No.
No.
Nope.
Hailstorm is best sound for BP.
I create my own screen.
The other thing, lag reduction strats part 2 is, especially with walls that pop up or things that pop up. You could see this if you remember the old Scourge hundreds. There was a big old diamond with an inner ring of turrets and the outer ring. If you moved where your view of the game was off to one side and the targets popped up, but they popped up off screen, you'd get less lag because your computer doesn't have, the game doesn't have to draw that for you.
Yeah.
It's off screen, so it doesn't matter as much. It still matters, though.
Yeah. Huge matter.
Yeah, I must admit, I think it's a bit of a sort of like pressure test. If you can actually manage to stand more than 10 minutes in the game with the sound on, with the music particularly, I'm impressed because it's just so annoying.
I reckon you're going to be bloody.
I'm going to go and check the game's music right now.
I don't know. Back in the day, I used to like listening to Siege Morts on DNX go off with my headphones on. That was quite.
Black Rain, yeah, Black Rain was good. I used to make videos of Black Rain and that sort of stuff. But yeah, but the actual game music, the in-game music, I mean, like just so repetitive. You know, especially in a raid nowadays. You know, it'd be like hours of that. You'd be in a padded cell pretty quick, wouldn't you?
I just love when people comment on other people's videos. I bloody hate I hate this music and I hate this. I just want to. I just want to write them. Put on your own music, you idiot.
Yeah, there's a mute button in YouTube.
Yeah, they don't
like
know.
If you don't want to hear me talk, you can mute me right now by pressing that little volume like thing, kind of on the bottom left corner. And there's a gear on the right for
they're bloody stupid.
Different thing. Thanks, Dave.
Oh dear. That's right. Dave just muted Brian there. So yeah, so bear in mind, obviously, on the music you can't have, because on your YouTube videos in certain countries, certain music is banned. So I try to go to the generic stuff, but it's not that exciting, clearly, because it's all royalty free, and it's not everyone's cup of tea.
Just do it
without
simple music,
Google search to give you some royalty-free music you can use. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, I remember last week I tried to put that video up on TFC.
Yeah, you were done straight away, mate. Banned.
Yeah, it banned me off tier, banned me off Facebook, banned me off YouTube.
I suppose they send you a royalties bill for it. You know.
I know. I had to redo the whole thing. I was pissed.
It was quite funny, I must admit. Look, it's 5-2. Just a couple of things I want to say, if you wouldn't mind. First of all, you might have noticed, obviously, Robin has been keeping the top of the page squared away for us, as she always does during the raid season and that sort of stuff. So, and she's posted a stack of videos, and there's loads up on the TFC website. So go into obviously raid help and that sort of stuff, and you'll see all the tiers and all the videos will be in there as well. So if you're unsure, if you want to dabble into something, or you've been using the tokens and the coins to to get yourself ahead, the tokens, the charge armor to get yourself ahead, and actually want to dabble into something decent, then the next level up of targets, have a look at them first, because there are several different ways of doing them. I find, to be honest, if my charge armor starts dropping down, it goes under half of the charge capability, I'll just pause and jump out the target and come back in again. It's been really, really good. So so the web link for TFC website, of course you can. 2 seconds, let me just grab it and put it into the chat. In fact, Robin's in there. I'm sure she'll pop it in the chat for you in a second. But basically, if you just Google the Forsaken Council, it will come up anyway. It's always one of the first things that comes up, which is good. The other thing I want to say is, look, although Ren has had a bit of a wobble at the moment, moved into a new house, got life's busy for that sort of stuff, and he's pretty frustrated with Kickstarter at the moment, because for us, Ren is the he's our voice box to the town hall and into kicks and that sort of stuff. So and he felt he was being ignored. His advice that he was trying to put in and then put up on the page for you, the players, and us as well as admins. He thanks, Wayne. That's in the chat now. He didn't feel he was getting anywhere at all. In fact, it was quite the opposite. He felt that some of his and some of the teams that were in there as well from the other pages, that their ideas were being I'm not saying poo-pooed, but definitely being ignored or twisted, maybe.
And moving's very stressful as well, dude. Like, if you've ever done it, it's one of the most stressful things you can do in life. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I won't say why, but I've moved 13 times in 23 years. So yeah, it is. I can promise you.
It's terrible, man. Well, you're an expert at it now, but
I am a bit of a ninja at it, I must admit. But then again, I don't have much stuff for that very same reason. So, yeah, Robin will probably agree with me on that one. Anyway, look, Ren's still about. He's still posting videos, that sort of stuff. He's doing his raid. So Ren is still there. So he's doing his own thing at the moment. He's alliance free at the moment, and he's just having his own time. So I hope he'll be back because he does some pretty good constructive stuff, and his videos that he's put up even this week have been very helpful to many people. His hit list has been just as high as it normally has been. So it's good that he's still there and still plugging away. So I'm chuffed to see that he is. The other thing I wouldn't mind saying is, obviously, clearly, I take it it's Veterans Day. They call it in the States. Is that right?
Yeah.
Armistice Day for us here in the UK, and obviously it'll be Remembrance Sunday tomorrow for us as well. So those that are, have that sort of military connection, then I'd just like to say hats off to all of you, and full respect in whatever country and whatever nation, you know. And for us, the first time this year, England played Germany this weekend, and the Germans wore poppies as well on the pitch, as well as the Brits as well. So we tend to sort of remember the fallen as a collective these days. That's you know, it's next year will be the 100th year, by the way, of the end of the First World War. So I'm sure there'll be celebration is not the right word, but it'll be you know, remembered quite respectfully, I'm sure. So we are literally 1 year away from the 100 years of the war to end all wars, or not. But anyway, those in the UK, enjoy your Remembrance Sunday tomorrow. Bear in mind it'll be on television, the Centre Tough, and Veterans Day. We're a few hours behind, so enjoy yourselves, and yeah, think of those that did something for you that you know, you should be proud of them, even if it didn't make it back. So on that note, I'll say thanks for tuning in. Thanks for everybody on the panel, and thanks for the chat. I'm going to get back to my raid because I've got a few things to do. So if there's nothing else, then we'll sign off. Thanks all.
All right. Take care. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good luck.